WTMJ. In the last half hour, we spoke with Supreme Court Justice Pat Roggensack, who's on the ballot tomorrow in the primary election. There are a bunch of other races on the ballot that I can't have candidates for all the different races on, but there are some that are more important than others, and some that I think need a little bit of clarification. In Milwaukee County, there is a three-way primary for a circuit court seat. Governor Scott Walker appointed Rebecca Bradley to be a circuit court judge, and in both Dane County and Milwaukee County, there have been folks who believe that if you were appointed by Governor Walker, you must be a bad person, and we're going to run against you as a result of that. In fact, last year, you had a very qualified African-American judge named Nelson Phillips, who was appointed by Governor Walker and was defeated for re-election when local Democrats decided that he had been tainted by being appointed by Governor Walker. And, of course, there's been some speculation that the same thing could happen in this year's election. I'm somewhat skeptical. But I also wanted to invite on the incumbent judge here, Rebecca Bradley, for a couple of other reasons as well. And Judge Bradley joins me on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
Good. How are you? Now, are you at all concerned that people are going to get you all confused with Justice Ann Walsh Bradley?
Well, the timing was interesting last week. I think there's a little bit of confusion out there, but I appreciate the efforts you're going to make sure that people see there's a distinction between Rebecca Bradley and Ann Walsh Bradley.
Yeah, this is very important because, and it's understandable, you're both judges, you're both on, tied up at the same time. But you were appointed to the bench by Governor Walker, and you now face two opponents. Can you tell me, in your view, what are these judicial elections really all about?
I think they're about a couple of things. Most importantly, I think they're about judicial philosophy, and while a lot of people will use the talking points about being a fair and impartial judge who won't legislate from the bench, I have a demonstrated long-term commitment to that principle. I was the president of the Federalist Society for 5 years. I've been a member of it for my nearly 17-year career, first as a lawyer and now as a judge. And I am very committed to the principle on which that society is based, that it is emphatically the province and the duty of the judiciary to say what the law is and not what it should be. And what that means to me is that I may not like the law that I have to apply, but it's my duty to apply it as the legislature intended, and that's my duty as a member of the judicial branch. If I wanted to change the law, I would have to run for the legislature, but that's not my job.
Are you comfortable with that philosophy being described as conservative, or do you use a different term?
I think it's appropriate to call it conservative, and it's interesting because I have many colleagues who politically and in their own opinions would describe themselves as liberal, but they consider themselves to be conservative jurists in that sense of the word, because they too, regardless of their political beliefs, understand that their job is to apply the law as written by the legislature.
Well, just tell me a little bit about your background, because as we were talking about with Justice Roggensack, these races often turn on judicial philosophy. You're clearly the conservative in the race, but they also turn on experience. You're a new judge. Your opponents obviously have never been judges. Can you give me just a little bit of a thumbnail sketch of your legal experience?
Sure. I practiced law for almost 17 years. I had a civil practice. I was most recently a partner at one of Milwaukee's largest law firms, Whitehurst Dudak, and I handled a variety of civil litigation, which I think is great experience to bring to the bench. A distinguishing characteristic of me is that I've been trained for the last several years before taking the bench as an American Arbitration Association arbitrator. So I've been trained to think like a judge. I've served as a neutral during my private practice. That's something that neither of my opponents have the experience or benefit of. And while I have been on the bench for just over a couple of months, I've already presided over hundreds of cases, which is more experience that neither of my opponents have.
Yeah, you've been endorsed by the Milwaukee Police Association, the Police Supervisors Association, the Deputy Sheriff's Association, the Firefighters Association as well. And you were the recipient of the 2010 Women in Law Award from the Wisconsin Law Journal. You're the former chairman of the State Bar of Wisconsin Business Law Section, and you were named a rising star attorney in 2010 and 2008 on the Wisconsin Super Lawyers list. So I guess the question will be, is anyone arguing that you are not qualified to be a judge?
I haven't heard that at all, and I don't think anyone can argue that. I think both of my opponents have experience in the DA's office, so they're making a lot of hay about that. But again, I've presided over hundreds of cases. They don't have that experience, and I bring a diversity of experience to the bench, having been in civil practice and also having worked in business, which I think is important experience to bring as a judge.
Yeah, the bottom line, though, isn't the only real issue against you is that you were appointed by Scott Walker?
I think that is something that maybe it isn't overtly being highlighted at this point, but I think that's what has motivated or emboldened people to run against any appointee of Governor Walker, because my experience and qualifications cannot be questioned.
Judge Bradley, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it very much. And again, Judge Rebecca Bradley is on the ballot tomorrow in the primary election. She has two opponents. I hope I can pronounce the one name, Gillarper, I can pronounce his name, and Janet Protasewicz, both of whom are running their assistant. She is an assistant district attorney. He is a lawyer, and they are. So it's a three-way primary. The top two candidates advance to the general election. Judge Bradley, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
This is very important that people understand this. Do not confuse Justice Ann Walsh Bradley, who is a lefty kook, with Judge Rebecca Bradley, who is, and I want to make this very clear, she is not only the conservative in the race, but she is potentially a rising conservative star in the state of Wisconsin. Now, I hesitate to say that because it puts a target on her back, but I think it is very possible that Judge Bradley is one of these lawyers, given her background and her credentials, which are so strong, she could end up on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. She could end up on the federal bench someday. This is one of those moments where conservatives need to understand that there are some of our best and brightest people who are on the bench who are now moving up. And I do think there are folks on the left who understand this as well. I have a couple of quick comments on this race and some details that I think might help you decide. For those of you few conservatives who actually are still in Milwaukee County, might decide what to do, and then we're going to move on. You're listening to News Radio 620 WTMJ.
Oh, how's Judge Rebecca Bradley's campaign going?
Oh, she's doing very well because we're focused on making our community safer. Even first responders have taken note.
Really? Did she receive their endorsement?
Yes, the Milwaukee Firefighters Union, Milwaukee Police Supervisors Organization, and the Milwaukee Police Officers Association have all endorsed Rebecca Bradley. Those endorsements prove she knows how to protect our communities and families.
Well, after talking to Judge Bradley, I knew I could trust her with my vote. Hey, here she is.
Hi, I'm Judge Rebecca Bradley, and I ask for your vote this Tuesday. As a judge, safer communities and stronger families have been my top priorities as I've presided over hundreds of cases. My priority each day is ensuring the safety of the citizens who reside, work, and attend school in Milwaukee County.
Judge Bradley, you've earned my vote this Tuesday, February 19th, for Milwaukee County Court, Branch 45.
Paid for by Citizens for Judge Bradley. Patrick Knight, Treasurer.
You hear it up.